AITA for refusing to give up my wedding venue to my sister, even though she's pregnant and due the same month. So, my sister and I have always had a complicated relationship. She's 27, I'm 29, and growing up, our parents kind of set us up to compete. She was the pretty one, and I was the responsible one. She got more attention socially, I got more praise academically. It wasn't toxic enough to blow up our relationship, but it's always been tense under the surface. I got engaged to my fiancé, Ethan, last year. We've been together for 5 years, and he proposed last spring at my favorite hiking spot. We were over the moon, and after a lot of searching, we found a beautiful venue, a renovated barn with a lake view, for our wedding this coming May. We booked it over a year in advance because it's super popular. The total cost was around $8,000 for the venue alone, which we paid ourselves. Our parents offered to chip in for catering, but otherwise, we've been covering things. We sent out our save the dates in September, and we're planning to send invitations soon. Now, here's where everything went off the rails. About 2 months ago, my sister announced she's pregnant. It wasn't planned, but she and her boyfriend, they've been together about a year, decided to keep the baby and are moving in together. Everyone was excited at first, and I genuinely am happy for her. But the timing got complicated. She's due the same month as my wedding, literally the same week. I didn't think too much about it first, other than worrying she might not make it to the ceremony. I told her we totally understood if she couldn't be there. But about 3 weeks ago, she called me asking if I'd be willing to move or postpone the wedding. Her reasoning? She said she wanted to have a maternity celebration/baby shower, and that May would be perfect timing because she'd be heavily pregnant and wouldn't want to travel later. She also said our extended family from out of state would already be in town for the event, so it would make sense to combine the timing. I thought she meant she wanted her shower around the same time, which was fine by me. But no, she meant she wanted my venue. The exact same date. Apparently, she and my mom had already called the venue, without asking me, to see if they could transfer the booking. When the venue said no, they came to me directly. My mom tried to guilt-trip me, saying that family comes before parties, and that it would mean so much to my sister to have her big day there before the baby comes. I told them absolutely not. We paid for that venue. It's our wedding. We've been planning it for over a year. My sister's pregnancy doesn't entitle her to just take over the date. That's when the drama exploded. My sister started crying, saying I was being selfish and that she wanted a once-in-a-lifetime maternity event before she becomes a mom. My mom said that I was in a different stage of life and could easily reschedule, while my sister was on a time crunch. I reminded them that venues like this are booked solid a year in advance and that I'd lose thousands if I canceled. My dad is trying to stay neutral, but he told me privately that it might be easier to keep the peace and find another place. Ethan, bless him, said there's no way we're giving in. He even offered to call my mom himself and tell her to stop asking, but I asked him to let me handle it. Things have gotten icy since. My mom and sister have started organizing her shower at a local community hall, but they've been talking behind my back, telling relatives that I'm being heartless. A cousin even texted me saying, "It's just one day. Can't you let your pregnant sister have this?" I didn't respond, but it stung. Last week, my mom sent me an email, an email, outlining suggestions for how to compromise. Her top idea was that we move our wedding to October so everyone can enjoy both celebrations. She even included links to potential autumn venues that were cheaper than our current one. I just stared at it in disbelief. I replied very clearly that our wedding date is not changing, our venue is not changing, and the discussion is over. Now my sister has blocked me on social media, and my mom says she's too stressed to talk to me. My dad keeps saying, "You know how your mom and sister get when they're emotional," which is not helping. To make matters worse, some family members have started pulling out of the wedding, saying they don't want to choose sides. My aunt called to say that my sister is going through a major life change, and that as her big sister, I should set an example of love and understanding. I feel like I'm living in some twisted alternate reality where everyone forgot who booked and paid for what. It's not like I'm refusing to attend her shower or acknowledge her pregnancy. I've offered to help with decorations and gifts. I just don't want to give up my wedding venue and date. Ethan's family thinks my sister is being manipulative, and a few of my friends are furious on my behalf. One even said she wouldn't be surprised if my sister tried to show up at the venue on our wedding day just to cause drama. Part of me wonders if I should have just given in to keep the peace, but another part of me feels like if I cave now, I'll be teaching my family that they can walk all over me whenever someone else wants something I have. My mom keeps saying, "You're both celebrating milestones," as if a baby shower is the same as a wedding. My sister's argument is that she can't postpone her pregnancy, so it's unfair that I won't postpone my wedding. Now, the wedding is 6 months away, and my relationship with my mom and sister is basically in ruins. My dad hinted that they might not even come, which makes me want to cry, but I also can't imagine canceling everything we've built for over a year. It's supposed to be the happiest time of my life, and instead, I feel like I'm fighting a war over something that shouldn't even be a question. So, AITA for refusing to give up my wedding venue to my pregnant sister, even though it means some of my family might not come. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for telling my sister that she's not entitled to our parent house just because she has kids. So I, 29F, have an older sister, Lauren, 34F, who has always had this unspoken assumption that the world owes her a little extra because she's doing the hard work of raising a family. I don't hate kids. I even love my niece and nephew. But I've noticed over the years that every family event somehow turns into a conversation about how difficult her life is and how people without children don't get it. Our parents are both in their early 60s, healthy, and still living in the house we grew up in. It's a nice home in a suburb of a major city, worth quite a bit now. My parents have always said they plan to leave everything split evenly between Lauren and me. That seemed fair. But recently, Lauren has started floating this idea that she should get the house when my parents pass, while I'd get equivalent value in cash. At first, I thought she was joking, but then she brought it up at dinner a few months ago, completely seriously, saying it made the most sense because her kids already see it as grandma and grandpa's house, and it would be traumatic for them if someone else moved in. She said, "I don't even live nearby, so why would I need the house?" I try to laugh it off, saying, "That's not really your call to make." But she doubled down, saying, "It's just practical. You can use your share to buy somewhere else." I can't uproot my family. Our parents looked uncomfortable, but didn't say much. My dad sort of mumbled something about sorting things out later. My mom changed the subject. I thought it would blow over, but Lauren has apparently been talking to them privately too. Last week, my mom called me and said she and Dad were thinking maybe Lauren could keep the house when they're gone, and they'd give me the value of half in cash. She emphasized how hard things are for Lauren right now, and how the kids need stability. I was stunned. I asked if Lauren had put them up to this, and my mom hesitated before saying she mentioned it made sense for the family. I asked, so my reward for being financially responsible and independent is to get cashed out while Lauren gets a literal property worth hundreds of thousands. Mom said, "You don't even want to live here." I said, "That's not the point. It's about fairness." We didn't fight, but it left a sour taste. Then last weekend, we all got together for Dad's birthday. Everything was fine until Lauren brought up future planning again in front of everyone. She said, "Mom and Dad agree it makes sense for us to keep the house, right?" She said it so casually, as if it were already decided. I said, "Actually, I don't think that's been decided at all." Lauren looked taken aback and said, "Come on, it's logical. You live in another city, you don't even like the suburbs, and it's better for the kids to stay connected here. You're single, it's not like you need the space." I lost it a little. I said, "So because I didn't have kids, I automatically deserve less? That's not how inheritance works. If you want the house, you could buy out my half like a normal adult." She got really defensive, saying I was being selfish and not understanding what it's like to have a family. I said, "It's not selfish to expect equal treatment. You're acting like having kids entitles you to everything." Dad tried to calm things down, But Lauren started crying, saying I was making her feel like a bad mother and that families should support each other. I said, I support you, but not at the expense of fairness. You don't get extra credit for reproducing. It was dead silent after that. My mom said I was being harsh. Lauren stormed off to the bathroom crying. After the party, Dad called me privately and said he understood my point, but that Lauren had a lot on her plate and maybe I should just let this go. I told him no. If they want to gift Lauren the house, fine, but then they should be honest about it being favoritism, not what's fair. Lauren texted me 2 days later, saying she couldn't believe I'd make things about money when family is supposed to matter more. I told her, it's not about money, it's about equality. You're the one turning fairness into an emotional guilt trip. Now half my family thinks I'm a selfish one for fighting over something that hasn't even happened yet. But I know how this goes. Once people start suggesting it's practical to favor one child, it usually becomes reality. To add context, Lauren and her husband are not struggling financially. They own their own home already. They just want to upgrade into my parents' house once they pass, since it's bigger and in a better area. She's trying to make it sound like a necessity when really it's convenience. Meanwhile, I've been saving for years to buy a place in my city, living within my means and not expecting help. It's frustrating that my responsibility is being used against me. My parents have even implied I don't need the inheritance as much as Lauren does. The final straw came when my mom told me that Lauren's kids have already been talking about their rooms in the house. Apparently, Lauren told them that one day they'll live there. That made me furious because now she's manipulating the emotional angle. If I resist, I'll look like the evil aunt taking their home away. I told Mom that if Lauren keeps telling her kids that lie, then I'll step back completely from the discussion, but they shouldn't expect me to be okay when I'm treated like an afterthought. Mom got teary and said, "You don't understand how hard it is to keep peace in this family." Maybe I don't, but I also don't think keeping peace should mean one person gets whatever they want. My boyfriend thinks I'm right to stand up for myself, but suggested I be careful how I word things to my parents so I don't alienate them. My best friend says this is a classic golden child situation. I never saw it that way growing up, but now I'm starting to wonder. It's not about wanting the house. I'd honestly sell my share anyway. It's about principle. My parents always said everything would be equal. Now they're letting guilt and pressure rewrite that. So now I'm being called greedy by my family because I won't agree that Lauren deserves more for having kids. But I can't shake the feeling that if the roles were reversed, if I had children and she didn't, no one would even question it being 50-50. I love my family, but I'm angry. I don't want this to destroy our relationship, but I also can't quietly accept an unfair situation just to avoid conflict. So, AITA for telling my sister she's not entitled to our parents' house just because she has kids. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's forgiveness wedding after she slept with my fiancé 2 years ago. So, this whole thing still feels surreal to even type out, but apparently my family thinks I'm the one holding a grudge and tearing the family apart. For context, I, 29F, was engaged to my college sweetheart, Adam, 30M. We've been together for 6 years, and we're supposed to get married in 2023. My sister, Leah, 27F, was my maid of honor, and honestly, we were close. Like borrowing each other's clothes, talking daily close. 2 months before the wedding, I noticed Adam had been acting distant. He was working late, not really helping with wedding planning, and barely affectionate. I chalked it up to stress. Then one night, Leah called me crying, drunk, and blurting out that she messed everything up. At first, I thought she meant she'd lost something or gotten into a fight with her boyfriend. Nope. After 15 minutes of incoherent sobbing, she admitted she'd slept with Adam more than once. Apparently, it started at a friend's birthday party when I left early for work the next morning. They hooked up that night and continued a few times after that. Her excuse? They were both drunk and emotionally confused. I kicked Adam out of my apartment the next morning, canceled the wedding, and went completely no contact with both of them. My parents tried to get me to hear them out, but there was nothing to hear. I moved out of state, started therapy, and slowly rebuilt my life. Fast forward 2 years. I have a new job, new friends, and a new boyfriend, Ethan, who treats me like an actual human being instead of an emotional punching bag. Life has been good until 2 weeks ago. My mom called to share wonderful news. Leah and Adam are getting married this spring. They've been together for a year and apparently found healing in each other. My mom said they want this wedding to be about forgiveness and family unity. She said Leah has grown so much and wants me to attend because it would mean the world to her. I laughed, actually laughed out loud. I thought she was joking. But no, my mom was dead serious. She said the theme of the wedding is literally a celebration of forgiveness. Leah plans to make a speech about personal growth and second chances. My parents are paying for the whole thing and hosting at their house. My mom said it's a chance for the family to heal. I told her there's absolutely no universe in which I will sit through a wedding uniting my cheating ex-fiancé and my backstabbing sister. Mom told me I was being immature and living in bitterness. She said, God forgives all, and that Leah deserves happiness. When I said I didn't believe Leah's happiness should come at my expense, she said, "You're making everything about yourself again." I hung up. A few days later, Leah texted me. It was this long, emotional message about how she's carrying a lot of guilt but found peace through her relationship with Adam. She said she's praying for reconciliation and begged me to come and bless their union. She even said they were planning to mention me in their vows as the person who taught them the value of honesty. That part made me physically gag. I ignored the text. Then, last weekend, my dad called. He was a bit more calm, but basically told me that if I don't go, I'll be the only one not present, and it'll create unnecessary tension. He said Leah has been through therapy and is a different person now. I told him that's great for her, but I don't owe anyone attendance at a wedding that celebrates my betrayal. He sighed and said, sometimes forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. I told him forgiveness doesn't require me to subject myself to emotional torture. He said, if you don't show up, you'll regret it when we're gone. That one stung. My parents have always been religious and big on turning the other cheek, but this feels like a new level of delusion. I thought that would be the end of it, but apparently Leah and Adam have been telling relatives that I refuse to move on and am poisoning the family dynamic. Some cousins reached out, saying I should let go of the past and be the bigger person. One even said, if you don't go, it'll just prove you're still bitter. Ethan, my boyfriend, thinks my family is nuts. He said I have every right to protect my peace and that showing up to that wedding would only reopen old wounds. He also said if I did go, he'd come with me for support, but he'd rather not see me suffer through something that painful. For what it's worth, I don't hate Leah. I don't wish her misery or anything. I just don't want her in my life. I worked too hard to build stability again, and the idea of watching her walk down the aisle with a man who promised to spend forever with me makes my stomach turn. Still, part of me wonders if refusing to go really does make me the problem. My mom won't stop calling. She says I'm destroying the family bond and turning love into resentment. My dad keeps sending Bible verses about forgiveness. Leah even mailed me an invitation with a handwritten note that said, let's finally close this chapter together. When I told her that chapter closed when she climbed in my bed with my fiancé, she said, you'll understand someday. Now, my family group chat is full of guilt trips, we miss you, come home, and this is bigger than you. My cousin even offered to sit between me and Adam so I wouldn't feel awkward. Like that's the issue. Ethan says I don't owe anyone my attendance, but the pressure is intense. My mom actually told me she'll never forgive me if I skip my sister's big day, which is hilariously ironic given the theme of the wedding. So now I'm sitting here wondering if standing my ground is cruel. Maybe I am being petty. Maybe I should just go, smile for the photos, and then never speak to them again. But it feels so wrong to show up and pretend everything's fine when it absolutely isn't. They say it's about forgiveness. But to me, it feels like they just want a photo op family reunion to prove they're the bigger people. I keep thinking about how 2 years ago, I was trying on dresses with Leah while she texted my fiancé behind my back. And now, I'm expected to clap as she marries him under the banner of healing. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to go to my sister's forgiveness wedding? AITA for refusing to let my sister move back in with me after she got kicked out of her boyfriend's house, even though I have a spare room. So I, 29F, bought my first house about 2 years ago after saving up for what felt like forever. I've always been the responsible one in my family. I got good grades, went to college, worked multiple jobs, didn't party, and stayed focused. Meanwhile, my younger sister, Lucy, 26F, has not exactly taken the same path. Lucy's always been the wild one. She dropped out of college after one semester, bounced between jobs, and has a habit of moving in with whatever guy she's dating at the time. She's charming, funny, and honestly, people just seem to love her until they get close enough to see the chaos. My parents have always enabled her. When she got into debt, they bailed her out. When she totaled her car, they gave her their old one. When she broke up with one boyfriend and had nowhere to go, she stayed with him for 6 months rent-free. The last time Lucy lived with me was 3 years ago, before I bought my house. I had a small 2-bedroom apartment, and she asked if she could stay with me just until she got on her feet. That just until turned into almost a year. She didn't pay rent most months, rarely cleaned, and brought her then boyfriend, who I couldn't stand, over constantly. The final straw was when I came home one night to find that she had thrown a small get-together that ended with my landlord threatening to evict me because my neighbors complained about the noise. When I told her she had to move out, she called me controlling and selfish, packed up, and left for her boyfriend's place the next day. Fast forward to now. Lucy had been living with a new boyfriend for about a year. Last week, I got a call from her late at night. She was crying, saying her boyfriend kicked her out because they had a huge fight. She didn't have anywhere to go and asked if she could stay with me for a few weeks. Here's the thing, I do have a spare bedroom. But after what happened last time, I really didn't want to repeat that disaster. Plus, I've worked hard to make my home a peaceful place. I have a full-time job that can be stressful, and I'm very protective of my space. So I told her, calmly, that I didn't think it was a good idea. I reminded her how difficult it was when she lived with me before, and that I didn't want to go through that again. I said I'd be happy to help her find somewhere else. Maybe help her pay for a short-term Airbnb or a room to rent, but I wasn't comfortable having her moving again. She didn't take it well. She started crying harder and said I was abandoning her when she needed me most. She said she'd changed, that she was different now, and that I was holding the past against her. Well, I didn't back down. She got angry and said I was acting like I was better than her, and that family is supposed to help each other. I told her I was helping, just not in the way she wanted. She hung up on me. Since then, my parents have gotten involved. Apparently, Lucy went to stay with them temporarily, but they live in a small 1-bedroom condo and said they can't keep her long. My mom called me and said I should do the right thing and open my heart because Lucy is in a tough spot. I told her I'd already made my decision. My dad said he understood where I was coming from, but then added that Lucy doesn't have anyone else. Now Lucy has been posting vague stuff on social media. Things like, it's always the people you love most who turn their backs on you, and some people only care about themselves. Of course, people are commenting things like, you deserve better, and whoever did this to you isn't worth your time. A couple of mutual friends messaged me privately asking if I was okay, because they assumed she was talking about me. I'm starting to feel conflicted. I know Lucy has made a lot of mistakes, but I also know she's struggling right now. Part of me feels guilty for not just letting her stay. It's not like I couldn't physically accommodate her. The room's there, and I live alone. But another part of me remembers how stressful it was last time, how she'd leave dishes everywhere, never pay bills, and constantly bring drama into my life. I've spent years trying to build a life that's stable and peaceful. I don't want to sacrifice that again. Still, I can't shake the feeling that maybe I'm being too harsh or cold. What's really making me question myself is something my mom said yesterday. She told me that when Lucy was little, she always looked up to me and that I set the example for her. She said that by shutting her out now, I'm teaching her that love has limits. That honestly stung. I've always tried to be a good sister, even when it's hard. But how far am I supposed to go? Last night, Lucy texted me again. It was short. I guess I know where we stand. Thanks for nothing. I didn't reply. I don't even know what to say anymore. I told a close friend about everything, and she said she completely understood my choice, that Lucy is an adult who needs to deal with the consequences of her decisions. But another friend said family should always take care of each other, no matter what, and that one more chance wouldn't kill me. I keep replaying everything in my head. If I let her in, I might be setting myself up for the same chaos as before. But if I don't, maybe I really am abandoning her when she's desperate. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my sister move back in, even though I could? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's dream wedding after she made it clear my daughter wasn't welcome? I, 34F, have a younger sister, Olivia, 28F, who has always been the princess of the family. Growing up, she was the golden child, cheerleader, straight-A student, doted on by our parents, while I was the more introverted, practical one. I never really minded it much, because I learned early that my parents would bend over backward to make Olivia happy. I got pregnant at 20 with my now 13-year-old daughter, Harper. Her dad left before she was born, so I raised her alone while finishing college. My parents helped where they could, but it was clear they were disappointed. Meanwhile, Olivia was off living her best life. College abroad, internships in big cities, and later getting engaged to her fiancé, Jason, 30M, who comes from a very wealthy family. When Olivia got engaged last year, she immediately started planning what she called her fairy tale wedding. It was going to be a massive event at a vineyard in California, black tie, hundreds of guests, live orchestra, the whole thing. I was genuinely happy for her and offered to help however I could. Things were fine until I got the official invitation. It was beautifully designed, embossed gold lettering, fancy envelope, clearly expensive. But when I opened it, I noticed it said, "This invitation is extended to Ms. My Name." No mention of Harper. I assumed it was an oversight. I called Olivia to check. Her tone immediately changed when I asked if Harper was invited. Olivia said, "Oh no, it's an adults-only wedding. Jason and I want it to be elegant and sophisticated. No kids." I reminded her that Harper is 13, not a toddler running around screaming. She's well-behaved, responsible, and honestly more mature than some adults I know. But Olivia was firm. "I'm sorry, but we're making no exceptions. Not even for family." That stung. I asked, "So Mom and Dad aren't bringing our little cousins either?" She hesitated, then admitted, "Well, there are a few exceptions. Jason's nieces and nephews are in the ceremony, and his family insisted they attend the dinner afterward. But it's not personal." Not personal? It felt incredibly personal. My daughter is her only niece, and she was being excluded while Jason's nieces and nephews got special treatment. I told Olivia that if Harper wasn't welcome, I wouldn't be coming either. She immediately got defensive, saying I was making everything about me. She said I should just get a sitter and enjoy a night off. I told her flat out that Harper and I are a package deal, and I wasn't about to leave her behind for a week-long trip because the wedding is across the country, just so Olivia could pretend she doesn't exist. A few days later, my mom called, trying to mediate. She said Olivia was upset and felt like I was punishing her. I explained my side, that it wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about basic respect. Harper was hurt. She overheard part of the conversation and asked, "Why doesn't Aunt Liv want me there?" I didn't know how to answer without lying. Mom begged me to reconsider, saying it would mean the world to Olivia if I showed up, and that Harper would understand. I told her Harper does understand. She understands she's being excluded because she doesn't fit the image of Olivia's perfect day. For months, this was the family tension point. Olivia sent me message after message, sometimes guilt-tripping, sometimes passive-aggressive. I guess not everyone can be happy for me. She even told me that Jason's family wouldn't understand if I brought a kid, as if Harper would embarrass her. The final straw came when I got a call from my dad. He said Olivia had been crying and accused me of ruining her wedding. He said he understood my feelings, but asked me to be the bigger person. I asked if he'd say that if the roles were reversed, if it were my wedding and I excluded one of her future children. He got quiet and muttered something about how Olivia is under a lot of pressure. Fast forward to last month, the week of the wedding. I stayed home with Harper. We had our own little girls' weekend, movies, junk food, and a backyard picnic. I posted a few photos on social media. Nothing pointed or mean, just us smiling and having fun. Apparently, Olivia saw them and was furious. She texted me a long message saying I was attention-seeking, that I tried to upstage her, and that my absence made people ask awkward questions. She said even Jason's family noticed and thought it was rude I didn't attend. I replied that the awkwardness was entirely her own doing. If anyone asked why I wasn't there, she could have told them the truth. She didn't want my daughter there, and I wasn't going to pretend that was okay. Now, most of my family is divided. My mom thinks I overreacted and should have gone for the sake of family unity. My dad says he understands, but wishes I kept the peace. Olivia hasn't spoken to me since, except for one last text saying she won't forgive me for this betrayal. But honestly, I don't regret it. Harper told me she was glad I didn't go without her, because she didn't want to be the reason Aunt Liv was mad. Hearing that broke my heart, but it also confirmed I made the right choice. Still, a part of me wonders if I could have handled it differently. I didn't want to hurt my sister, but I also couldn't let my daughter be treated like she doesn't belong. Maybe I could have gone to the ceremony alone, made a brief appearance, and left. But then what would that teach Harper? That it's okay to accept being excluded by family if it keeps the peace? I keep thinking about how Olivia's whole life, everyone's walked on eggshells to keep her happy. I guess I finally stopped. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because my daughter wasn't invited? AITA for refusing to pay for my brother's wedding after he uninvited my husband because he didn't fit the aesthetic? I, 32F, have a younger brother, Ethan, 28M, who is getting married to his fiancée, Lila, 27F, next month. For context, I'm married to my husband, Chris, 34M, who is an auto mechanic. He's one of those people who can fix literally anything. He's down to earth, quiet, and doesn't care much for appearances or social climbing. I work in HR at a mid-sized company, so we're comfortable but not flashy. Ethan and I grew up close, but when he met Lila 4 years ago, things started to shift. Lila is very particular. She's from a wealthy family and is obsessed with what she calls curated appearances. She runs an Instagram account about elevated living. Everything white beige, minimalist, and expensive. When they started dating, she gently tried to help Ethan by overhauling his wardrobe, his apartment, even the kind of car he drove. He didn't seem to mind. If anything, he seemed proud that someone like her wanted to improve him. When they got engaged last year, they asked my husband and me if we'd like to contribute to the wedding. Ethan framed it as a family investment. Apparently, Lila's parents were paying for the venue, dress, and catering, but they wanted to keep balance by having my side cover other things. Specifically, they asked if we could pay for the band, photography, and decorations, totaling around $14,000. That's a lot of money, but I love my brother, and he's helped me in the past, so after discussing with Chris, we agreed to help. We even started putting aside part of our savings to make it happen. Fast forward to last weekend. Lila hosted a wedding coordination brunch at her parents' home. It was mostly her bridesmaids, her mother, and some vendors, but I was invited since I was helping pay. Chris came with me because it was a 2-hour drive, and we planned to grab lunch afterward. When we arrived, Lila looked visibly uncomfortable. Chris was wearing jeans and a clean button-up shirt. Totally appropriate, just not designer-level polish like the others. Throughout brunch, Lila kept shooting him these weird looks, and at one point she actually whispered something to her maid of honor while staring right at him. Later that day, Ethan called me. He sounded awkward and said that Lila had some concerns. Apparently, she felt that Chris's vibe didn't match the aesthetic tone of their wedding and that she was concerned about the photos. She said he didn't photograph well next to the groomsmen and wanted to curate a consistent visual narrative. I thought he was joking at first. He wasn't. He told me, as gently as he could, that Lila wanted the guest list to be visually cohesive, and that it would be better if Chris sat this one out. I was speechless. I told Ethan that if my husband wasn't invited, neither was I, and that our financial support was off the table. He panicked immediately, saying everything was already booked based on that money. He begged me not to ruin his wedding over something minor. I reminded him that my husband isn't a prop, he's family. Ethan kept saying Lila was really sensitive about details and that I should just understand how she thinks. He tried to offer compromises like, maybe Chris could come to the rehearsal dinner, but not the ceremony, or maybe he could wear something Lila picks out. At that point, I lost it. I told him we were done, that I wasn't going to bankroll a wedding where my husband wasn't welcome. He got really angry and said I was being selfish and punishing him for his fiancée's feelings. Now my parents are involved. They think what Lila said was absurd but are begging me to reconsider paying because Ethan and Lila have apparently sunk too much money to back out of certain contracts. My mom said, "You're right in principle, but maybe just go for Ethan's sake." My dad said, "You know how Lila is. Just don't make it worse." Even some relatives have reached out, saying that since Chris doesn't care about fancy events anyway, maybe I should be the bigger person. But Chris is hurt. He pretends it's fine, but I can tell it eats at him. He keeps saying he doesn't want me to lose my relationship with my brother because of him. But honestly, how could I attend a wedding where my husband was deliberately excluded because he wasn't aesthetic enough? The whole thing makes me sick. This isn't about money anymore. It's about respect. Ethan is my brother, but if he's okay with this kind of treatment toward family, then maybe I don't know him anymore. For context, Chris has always been great to Ethan. He helped fix Ethan's old car for free when he was in college, drove him to job interviews, and even helped move furniture into Lila's apartment when they first moved in together. He's the least dramatic person I know. Now, Lila has apparently been telling people that I overreacted and made the wedding about myself. Ethan texted me last night saying he's devastated and that I've ruined one of the happiest times of his life. He said if I don't make this right, we might not speak for a long time. It's been a week, and my parents are still trying to mediate. They keep saying it's just one day, but it's not just one day to me. It's the principle of being told that someone I love doesn't fit the image for their luxury Instagram wedding. I keep replaying the phone call in my head. The way Ethan tried to make it sound like a small favor, like I was being unreasonable for not accepting that my husband could quietly stay home while I smiled for photos with the rest of the aesthetic family. I don't know how to move past this. My brother's wedding is supposed to be a celebration of love, but everything about it feels fake now. My parents think I should just let Lila have her way to keep the peace, but I'm not sure I can stomach that kind of peace. So now the invitations have gone out, and ours never arrived. Ethan says it's not personal, that it's just what Lila needed for her vision. My family keeps calling, telling me there's still time to fix this. But I don't see how. How do you fix something like that without completely betraying your own partner? AITA for refusing to pay for or attend my brother's wedding because my husband wasn't aesthetic enough to be invited. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's child-free wedding because she banned my son from being in any photos. I, 34F, have a younger sister, Claire, 28F, who's always been the main character type. She's fun, loud, ambitious, and tends to make everything about her. We were close growing up, but over the years, our relationship has become complicated, mostly because she's selective about when family matters to her. I have a 6-year-old son, Leo. He's my entire world. My husband passed away suddenly 3 years ago, and since then, it's just been me and Leo. He's a sweet, well-behaved kid, but he's also a kid, energetic, curious, sometimes loud. Claire has always had this I don't do kids attitude, which I respected. I don't force her to babysit or spend time with Leo if she doesn't want to. When Claire got engaged to her fiancé, Matt, she immediately started planning this ultra-minimalist, aesthetic wedding that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Every decision she made, from the venue to the dress to the floral arrangements, was about how it would photograph. I'm not even exaggerating. She had an entire Pinterest board dedicated to how the guests' outfits should complement the palette. So when she announced it would be a child-free wedding, I wasn't shocked. I was disappointed because I'd have to find childcare for Leo, but I understood. It's her wedding, her rules. I didn't argue. I told her I'd make arrangements. Then about 2 months ago, Claire asked if Leo could be her flower boy. She said she'd realized she wanted a whimsical touch and thought it would be cute to have him toss petals. I was surprised but touched. Leo was thrilled. He practiced tossing flower petals in our living room for days. Fast forward to last week. Claire sent out a group message to the wedding party with details about the rehearsal and photo schedule. I noticed that Leo's name wasn't listed for any of the photos, so I texted her separately asking if that was an oversight. Her reply was, "Oh, right. So about that, I decided we're doing the official photos child-free too. It's just a vibe thing. Leo can be in a few candid shots, but not in the main portraits or ceremony photos." I was honestly confused. I asked, "You mean he can walk down the aisle but can't be in any of the professional photos?" She said yes. She explained that kids don't photograph well in aesthetic portraits and that she didn't want to ruin the visual consistency of the wedding album. I thought she was joking at first, but she was dead serious. I told her that sounded awful, like she was using Leo as a prop for the ceremony, but didn't want him visible afterward. She got defensive, saying it wasn't personal. It was about the artistic direction. Then she added, "You have to admit, kids in formal photos can look messy or awkward. It's just not the look we're going for." I told her that if Leo wasn't welcome in the official photos, then he wouldn't be the flower boy. She said that was dramatic and accused me of trying to make her wedding about me. I said it wasn't about me. It was about her treating my son like a disposable accessory. She said, "You're the one making it emotional. I just want cohesive photos." We didn't talk for a few days. Then my mom called, tried to mediate. Apparently, Claire told her I was refusing to attend unless Leo could be in the photos, which wasn't exactly true. What I said was that I wasn't comfortable leaving him out of an event like that and pretending it was fine. My mom begged me to just let it go and come to support my sister. I said I'd think about it. The more I thought, the more it bothered me. Claire wasn't just excluding him from the wedding in a general, child-free sense. She specifically invited him to play a role, then uninvited him from being visible in any of the memories. She wanted the aesthetic of a child in the ceremony without acknowledging his existence afterward. It felt dehumanizing. I texted Claire and told her that I wasn't going to the wedding. I said I loved her, but I couldn't support a day that made my son feel like an inconvenience or a decoration. I told her that if she didn't want Leo in photos, she didn't get to have him in her wedding at all, and if she couldn't accept that, then I'd rather stay home. She lost it. She accused me of ruining her wedding over something petty. She said I was holding a grudge because she's child-free and making everything about motherhood. She said Leo wouldn't even remember the wedding, so why did it matter? I told her it mattered because it was about respect, not aesthetics. She told me to get over myself and hung up. Since then, she's been posting vague things on Instagram about selfish family members who can't be happy for you. My mom's been pressuring me to apologize, saying it's just photos and that Claire's been dreaming of this day for years. But my dad, who's usually quiet, said he actually understood my side. He told me, "You can't teach a kid he's welcome only when he looks nice for someone else's pictures." That really stuck with me. Now the wedding is next weekend. My mom keeps asking if I'll change my mind for family harmony. I've already RSVP'd no, and I'm feeling conflicted. On one hand, it's her wedding and she can make her own choices. On the other, those choices were shallow and hurtful. Claire says I'm being vindictive. My mom says I'm being dramatic. My dad says I'm standing up for my son's dignity. And honestly, I don't know which one I am anymore. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she banned my son from the photos. AITA for refusing to give up my seat at Thanksgiving dinner even though my brother's new girlfriend is pregnant. Every year, my family has Thanksgiving at my parents' house. It's a big deal. My mom goes all out with decorations, multiple courses, and a strict seating chart that's basically become a family tradition. She claims it balances the energy of the room, or whatever, but we all know it's mostly to avoid arguments about who sits next to Uncle Gary. This year was special because my older brother, Matt, 34, brought his new girlfriend, Jenna, 28, whom we'd never met before. They've been together about 8 months and recently announced that she's pregnant. My parents were over the moon. My mom even texted me a week before dinner to say how wonderful Jenna was and how we all needed to make her feel welcome. For context, I'm 31F, and I'm the middle child. My younger sister, Lily, 27, and I are the only ones without kids, and honestly, my family treats that like a personal failing. I've been single for 2 years since my divorce, and it's been rough. Every family gathering includes at least one comment from someone about how I should get back out there or freeze my eggs before it's too late. Anyway, the Thanksgiving seating chart has been the same for almost 10 years. My dad at the head, mom on the other end, Matt to dad's right, me to dad's left, Lily next to me, then a rotating seat for whoever else comes. It's a silly thing, but it's tradition, and we actually joke about how sacred it is. When we all arrived for dinner, everything looked normal, until my mom told me she'd made a small adjustment to the seating arrangement. I looked at the table and saw place cards. Mine, which normally sat next to my dad, was now moved down to the far end of the table, next to the kids section, which included my nieces, ages 4 and 6, who constantly spill juice and talk about Paw Patrol. In my old seat, Jenna's name card. I asked my mom what was going on, and she said, "Oh, Jenna's pregnant, sweetie. She should have a comfortable seat close to your dad." Plus, Matt really wanted her next to him. I was annoyed, but tried to be polite. I said, "I get that she's pregnant, but that seat's always been mine. It's not exactly more comfortable than any other chair." Mom said, "It's just one dinner. Be gracious." I looked at Jenna, expecting her to say something like, "It's fine, I can sit anywhere," but she just smiled tightly and shrugged, like she was completely fine with it. Matt avoided eye contact. Something in me just snapped. I know it's petty, but I felt erased. Every year, I'm the one who helps my mom cook, cleans the kitchen afterward, and keeps things running smoothly while Matt shows up, eats, and leaves. And now my only thing, the one tradition I always had, was being taken because my brother knocked someone up. So I said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not moving. She could take my old seat next year if it's that big a deal." The room went silent. My mom gave me the "we'll talk about this later" look. Jenna looked embarrassed, but didn't move. Matt said, "Come on, it's not that deep. She's carrying my child." I replied, "Right, and I'm carrying this family every Thanksgiving. I'm not moving." Lily snorted into her wine, which didn't help. My mom sighed and said, "Fine, let's just eat." So we did. The tension was thick the entire meal. My dad tried to change the subject by talking about football, but nobody was really into it. Jenna barely ate and kept her hand on her stomach dramatically, like she was performing for sympathy. After dinner, my mom cornered me in the kitchen and said I'd embarrassed her. She said I'd made Jenna feel unwelcome and that I could have been the bigger person. I said I was tired of always being the one expected to accommodate everyone else. She said, "You're not a victim. You're just selfish." I left early after helping with dishes, again, and didn't even take leftovers. The next day, Matt texted me saying I owe Jenna an apology because she cried the whole way home, feeling like the family didn't accept her. He said I made a scene over a chair and that I need to grow up. Lily texted me privately to say she thought I was hilarious and that mom was being ridiculous, but even she admitted I probably could have handled it more gracefully. Now, my mom isn't talking to me. My dad sent a neutral, "I love you both. Let's move on" text. Jenna apparently told Matt she doesn't want to come to Christmas unless I apologize. Here's where I'm conflicted. I know on paper it's just a chair, but it wasn't about the chair. It was about being constantly sidelined in my own family because I don't fit their picture of what a successful woman looks like. Every time I set a boundary, I'm called selfish. Every time I try to speak up, I'm told I'm dramatic. But I also can't ignore that I might have made things uncomfortable for everyone. My mom worked hard on dinner, and maybe I should have just let it go. Still, it eats at me that no one thought about how that might make me feel. No one asked. It was just assumed I'd quietly step aside, because that's what I always do. And for once, I didn't. So now I'm stuck wondering if I was really defending myself, or if I just overreacted to something small because I'm resentful. Matt hasn't spoken to me since, and my mom told Lily that I ruined Thanksgiving. I feel like everyone is blowing it out of proportion, but maybe I did too. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to give up my seat to my brother's pregnant girlfriend at Thanksgiving dinner. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for not wanting to let my brother and his fiancée move into my house, even though they're family and I have more than enough space. I, 34F, bought my own house 4 years ago after a lot of hard work. It's a modest but cozy three-bedroom home in a nice suburban neighborhood. I'm single, and the third bedroom is set up as my office since I work remotely. The second bedroom is a guest room, which my friends or parents occasionally use when they visit. I love my space and the independence that came with owning something on my own after years of renting bad apartments and working two jobs. My younger brother, Ethan, 28M, has always been a bit more impulsive than me. He's the kind of person who jumps into things without thinking them through. He's smart, but he tends to rely on other people to bail him out when things go wrong. He's been dating his fiancée, Mia, 26F, for about 2 years, and they got engaged last spring. They've both been living in a city about an hour away in a one-bedroom apartment that's under Mia's name. A few months ago, Ethan called me to tell me they were being forced to move out because Mia's landlord sold the building. They've been trying to find another place, but rent prices in their area are high, and they haven't had much luck. Ethan said they'd been brainstorming and came up with what he called a win-win solution. He suggested that he and Mia move into my house for just 6 months while they save up for their own place. At first, I thought he was joking. My house isn't huge, and I really value my privacy. I told him gently that I didn't think it would work well since I work from home and need quiet during the day. Plus, I'd have to give up my office or guest room. He said I was overreacting and that family helps family. He also mentioned that I live alone anyway, and that it's not like I have a husband or kids to worry about. That comment rubbed me the wrong way. I told him I'd think about it, but my gut said no. A week later, Mia called me directly. She was extremely polite, but also had that tone where she assumed I'd already said yes. She started talking about where their stuff would go and how she'd help with groceries. I had to interrupt her to say that I hadn't agreed to anything. She got quiet and said, "Oh, I thought Ethan said you were fine with it." I called Ethan afterward and told him to stop putting words in my mouth. He got defensive and said I was being selfish and cold. He reminded me of all the times he'd helped me move apartments in the past, which, to be fair, he did, but that was a day or two of lifting boxes, not 6 months of living together. I reiterated that I wasn't comfortable with it, but he just said, "Fine, we'll figure something else out," in a tone that made it clear he was mad. I thought that was the end of it. 2 weeks later, I came home from running errands to find Ethan's car in my driveway. He and Mia were unloading boxes onto my porch. I was stunned. They told me they'd gotten a head start because their lease was up that day and they didn't have anywhere else to go. I told them they couldn't move in, and Ethan literally said, "Come on, don't make this a scene. We'll stay out of your way." I lost it. I told them to load their stuff back up and leave immediately. Ethan got angry, saying I was choosing my precious peace and quiet over helping family in need. Mia looked embarrassed and tried to smooth things over, but she didn't tell him to stop either. I ended up calling my parents because I felt guilty and didn't want to be the villain in this situation. My parents sided with Ethan. My mom said they just need a roof over their heads. "You have 3 bedrooms. What's the problem?" My dad was a bit quieter, but still said I should at least let them stay a month or 2 until they find something. I asked if they could stay with them instead, but my parents said their house is too small and they don't have a spare room. The argument spiraled, and now I feel like the entire family thinks I'm heartless. My mom even said, "You've changed since you bought that house. You act like you're above everyone." That really hurt because I've worked hard to be financially stable. I don't flaunt it. I just like my space and boundaries. Ethan and Mia ended up crashing with one of Mia's friends for now, but every few days I get messages from my parents asking if I've come to my senses yet. My mom guilt texts me with lines like, "I hope someone helps you one day when you're in need." And Ethan posted a vague status on Facebook about selfish people who turn their backs on family. Several relatives have reached out to say they're disappointed in me. What no one in my family seems to care about is that Ethan and Mia could easily rent a small place in a cheaper town nearby. They just don't want to. Ethan has expensive hobbies, and Mia recently quit her job to focus on wedding planning. It's not like they're destitute. They're just not willing to downsize their lifestyle or commute a little farther. I keep second-guessing myself because part of me wonders if I should have let them stay temporarily. Maybe I could have set strict boundaries or charged rent. But knowing my brother, those 6 months would have turned into a year or more, and I'd be the bad guy when I asked them to leave. Last week, My dad called to say that Ethan and Mia were still struggling to find a place and suggested that I could show some compassion and let them stay through the holidays. He said it would be good for family harmony. I told him that I love Ethan, but that his entitlement isn't my responsibility. My dad sighed and said, "One day you'll understand what it means to put family first." Now I'm the outcast. I wasn't invited to a small family dinner last weekend, and my mom said she didn't want tension at the table. I've been getting messages from cousins saying they heard I kicked Ethan out, like I'm some kind of villain in a movie. I know Reddit tends to side with boundaries, but when it's your actual family treating you like you're cruel, it makes you question everything. I keep replaying that day on the porch, wondering if I should have just swallowed my discomfort and let them move in. But then I imagine coming home to their stuff everywhere, no privacy and constant tension, and I realize how miserable I'd be. So here I am, the supposed villain of the family, sitting in my quiet house, feeling both peaceful and guilty at the same time. Am I really the asshole for choosing boundaries over blood? AITA for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because she made it child-free, but still invited her fiancé's kids? I, 33F, have one sister, Emily, 29F. We've always been close, though not without our share of drama. She's the kind of person who always wanted to be the main character. Every birthday, holiday, or family event somehow becomes about her, and we've learned to just let it happen because fighting about it only makes it worse. Emily got engaged last year to her fiancé, Jake, 34M. He's nice enough, though a bit pretentious. He's divorced and has 2 kids from his previous marriage, Mia, 8F, and Logan, 6M. Emily doesn't have kids and used to make it very clear she wasn't a kid person. She'd always joke about how she'd never sacrifice her freedom for motherhood and how my life must be exhausting since I have 2 children, my daughter Sophie, 7F, and my son Max, 4M. When Emily got engaged, she immediately went into full wedding planner mode. The wedding was scheduled for next spring at a beautiful vineyard about an hour away from where we live. She wanted it to be classy and elegant. Her words. My mom, dad, and I were all thrilled for her until she dropped the child-free bomb. At first, I wasn't even mad. A lot of weddings are child-free, and while it can be inconvenient, I respect that. I figured it meant she wanted a more adult atmosphere, and I could make arrangements for my kids to stay with my in-laws for the weekend. But then I found out something that made my jaw drop. A few weeks later, I was on a video call with my mom and Emily, helping her look at decorations online. During the call, Emily casually mentioned that she and Jake had picked out flower girl dresses for Mia and ring bearer outfits for Logan. I immediately said, "Wait, I thought this was a child-free wedding." Emily just shrugged and said, "Well, yeah, but that's different. They're Jake's kids. They're part of the wedding party." I asked, "So no other kids are allowed, but Jake's kids are?" She rolled her eyes and said, "It's not like I can exclude my future stepchildren from the ceremony. That would look awful." I said, "Okay, but it still feels hypocritical to call it child-free when 2 kids are there." Emily got defensive fast. She said, "You're overreacting. It's my day, and I should be able to have it how I want. It's not a kid's party. It's a wedding." I dropped it at the time, but the more I thought about it, the more irritated I got. She wasn't just excluding random children. She was excluding mine, her niece and nephew, while allowing her fiancé's kids to have major roles in the ceremony. A few days later, she texted me to ask if Sophie could help Mia get ready for the wedding, just for fun, since they're close in age. I told her I thought it was unfair that Sophie wasn't invited when Mia was, and I didn't think it was right to involve her in wedding prep when she couldn't even attend. Emily accused me of trying to make everything about my kids and said I was being immature. Things escalated when I told her that if my children weren't welcome, I wouldn't be attending either. She called me dramatic and said I was ruining her wedding. I told her I loved her, but I wasn't going to sit through a child-free event that excluded only certain children based on convenience. My parents tried to mediate. My mom said she understood why I felt hurt, but that I should just let it go for the sake of peace. My dad, surprisingly, took my side. He said it wasn't really a child-free wedding if 2 kids were allowed and that Emily was playing favorites. Emily accused him of taking sides and stopped speaking to him for a few weeks. The real kicker came when Emily sent out her formal invitations. Everyone in the family got theirs, except me. I reached out, thinking it was a mistake, and she said she didn't feel comfortable having me there since I'd made such a big deal about her choices. I was stunned. I asked if she was really uninviting me from her wedding, and she said, "I'm not uninviting you. I just don't think you should come if you can't support me." So, yeah, she uninvited me. My mom later begged me to just apologize so that Emily would reissue the invitation. She said, "You know how she gets when she feels criticized." But I honestly don't think I did anything wrong. I wasn't demanding special treatment. I just wanted fairness. To make it more absurd, Emily still sent Sophie a little flower crown she'd bought as a peace offering and said she'd love to do a girl's day with her after the honeymoon. Sophie, being 7, was confused and asked why Aunt Emily didn't want her at the wedding. I didn't know what to say. I told her it was an adults-only party, and she asked, "Then why do Mia and Logan get to go?" Try explaining that to a child without sounding bitter. Now, the wedding is coming up in a few months, and my family is split down the middle. My mom and aunt think I should apologize and attend to avoid permanent damage. My dad says Emily needs to learn that her choices have consequences. My husband fully supports my decision not to go. Part of me wonders if I should have just sucked it up for one day, but another part of me feels like if the situation were reversed, I'd never dream of excluding her children while letting others attend. It feels like she's already starting this new chapter of her life by drawing a line between her family and the rest of us. I love my sister, but I don't like the person she's becoming, or maybe she's always been this way, and I just ignored it because she was my little sister. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to go to my sister's wedding because she called it child-free, but made an exception for her fiancé's kids. AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my house after he humiliated me in front of my family. 29F, have always had a close relationship with my younger sister, Emily, 26F. We grew up in a very tight-knit family, and while we don't agree on everything, we've always had each other's backs. Over the last few years, Emily started dating someone named Mark, 30M, and from the beginning, I had a weird feeling about him. I tried to dismiss it because I wanted Emily to be happy, but there were a few red flags that kept popping up. Mark is, on the surface, charming and funny. He's the type of guy who can make everyone laugh and is really outgoing, but I noticed a pattern of subtly belittling people, especially in social settings. I chalked it up to his sense of humor, hoping Emily could handle it. Over time, I began noticing he also has a habit of undermining her choices, but she didn't see it that way. She insisted he just pushes her to be better. About a month ago, Emily and Mark asked if they could stay in my apartment for a weekend. They live about 2 hours away, and apparently, their AC was broken at home, so they needed a place to crash. Normally, I'm super hospitable, but I had a bad feeling. Still, I agreed because I wanted to help my sister. The weekend started fine. Mark was acting overly charming at first, making jokes and trying to bond with my friends when they came over. But then things started to take a turn. During dinner, he made a series of jokes at my expense about my career, my dating life, and even my apartment. I tried to laugh it off, thinking maybe I was being too sensitive, but Emily laughed along, making excuses like Mark's just teasing. I felt really uncomfortable. The tipping point came later that evening. We were all in the living room playing a board game. I made a comment about a strategy that I thought was harmless. Mark, instead of replying normally, loudly said, "Wow, that's such a basic move. I'm surprised you even know what you're doing. No wonder you're single." The room went silent. Emily laughed nervously, but I could see her getting tense. I didn't say anything in the moment, trying not to start a fight in front of everyone. Later that night, after everyone went to bed, I confronted Emily privately. I told her that I felt humiliated and that Mark's behavior was not okay. I explained that his jokes were crossing the line and that I didn't appreciate being ridiculed in my own home. Emily got defensive and said I was overreacting and that Mark didn't mean anything by it. I tried to explain that it wasn't just a one-time thing. It had been a pattern all evening, but she insisted that I was being too sensitive and that I should just learn to take a joke. The next morning, I made the decision to ask Mark not to stay in my apartment anymore. I told Emily that I was happy to see her, but I couldn't have someone who belittled me under my roof. Emily was furious. She accused me of being selfish and claimed I was ruining their weekend for no reason. She said that Mark had only been joking and that I should apologize for being rude. I refused to apologize. I also told Emily that if she and Mark wanted to continue staying in my apartment, it would have to be without him. Emily got really upset and left to find a hotel nearby, but she was clearly angry at me for the rest of the day. Over the last few weeks, she has been giving me the cold shoulder and sending passive-aggressive texts about how families should stick together and I should try harder to get along with people. I reached out to a few other friends and family members for perspective, and the opinions are split. Some people say I was within my rights to protect my own space and feelings, while others say I was too harsh and should have let them stay because it was just a weekend. I feel like the boundary was necessary, but the backlash from Emily has been really stressful. AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé stay in my home after he humiliated me, even though it caused a rift with her. AITA for refusing to give up my vacation days for my co-worker's wedding even though it ruined her dream honeymoon. So, I, 29F, work at a medium-sized marketing firm. I've been here for almost 6 years, and I've always been considered one of the reliable ones. I don't cause drama. I do my job. I train new hires when asked, and I rarely take time off. The last real vacation I took was 3 years ago when I went to visit my family overseas. This year, I finally decided to take a proper break. My boyfriend, 31M, and I booked a 2-week trip to Japan for early November. It's something we've both wanted to do for years. We planned it carefully, saved up, and I requested the vacation time back in March. It was approved in April. Flights, hotels, and some tours are all prepaid and non-refundable. Here's where the issue starts. My co-worker, Lily, 27F, got engaged last year. She's nice enough, but she's one of those people who makes everything about her. Every work event somehow becomes a pretext to talk about her wedding. For months, it's been dress fittings, color palettes, engagement photo shoots, bachelorette planning, every lunch break, every coffee run. Whatever, not my problem. About a month ago, HR sent out the updated vacation schedule for Q4, showing who would be off and when. A few days later, Lily came to my desk looking panicked. She told me she had just realized that her wedding date, November 3rd, conflicted with the only week her fiancé could get off work for their honeymoon. Apparently, they wanted to leave right after the ceremony and spend 2 weeks in Italy. Problem: both she and I work on the same small team of 5, and because of project deadlines, only one person from our team can be out of time. Since my vacation was already approved, HR told her they couldn't authorize hers for that period. She could either move the honeymoon or take unpaid time after our big campaign ends in December. She asked if I could just switch with her or push my trip by a few weeks. I told her I couldn't. Everything was booked months ago, and even if it wasn't, my boyfriend's schedule is fixed. He's a teacher, and his time off aligns with that exact period. She looked frustrated and said, "Come on, it's my wedding, not some random trip." I said, "I get that, but this trip is really important to me too. I've been planning it for almost a year." She didn't drop it. Over the next week, she kept bringing it up, trying to guilt-trip me. She said things like, "It's not like you're getting married," and "I thought you were a team player." Eventually, she got our mutual co-worker, Ben, to start advocating for her too, saying I should show some compassion. I told both of them that this wasn't about compassion. It was about fairness. I followed the rules, booked early, and got approval. That's how the system works. Then things escalated. She went to our manager, Paul, and tried to get him to overrule HR and force a swap. Paul told her there was nothing he could do since the policy is first come, first served. That apparently didn't stop her from crying in the break room and telling anyone who'd listen that I was ruining her honeymoon. Now, here's where I might be the asshole. Last Friday, we had a team meeting, and Lily brought it up again, publicly. She said, "I just wish some people here cared enough to help a co-worker have her dream wedding." Everyone went quiet. I was honestly tired of the passive-aggressive comments, so I said, "You mean by canceling a vacation I've spent thousands of dollars on, so you can go drink wine in Tuscany?" She looked stunned. Paul quickly changed the subject, but the room was awkwardly silent after that. Later that day, HR called me in and asked me to be mindful of tone because Lily had filed a hostile work environment complaint. HR didn't take it seriously, but they said I should try to be professional. Now some coworkers are on my side, saying Lily's being entitled. But others, especially her close friends, think I was cruel for embarrassing her publicly and that I should have handled it privately. One even said, "You could have shown some empathy instead of being snarky." Over the weekend, I got a message from Lily's fiancé, who I barely know, saying he hopes I can find it in my heart to do the right thing because it's their once-in-a-lifetime trip. I didn't respond, but now I'm starting to wonder if I've been too harsh. From my perspective, I did everything right. I followed procedure, I planned ahead, and I didn't try to take something from anyone. But the guilt tripping has been relentless, and now work feels tense every day. Lily barely looks at me, and the others act like I kicked a puppy. My boyfriend thinks I'm completely in the right, and says if I give in, I'll just teach people that being pushy gets rewarded. My mom, however, thinks I could have found a compromise because weddings are special. I don't know. Maybe I was too blunt in that meeting. But I'm not sure what else I was supposed to do when someone kept trying to make me feel like a villain for going on a vacation I earned and planned months in advance. So, AITA for refusing to give up my vacation days for her wedding even though it ruined her honeymoon plans? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? I, 28F, have always been close to my younger sister, Lily, 25F. Growing up, we were inseparable. We had sleepovers well into our teens, shared clothes, and constantly supported each other through every heartbreak, exam, and family drama. When Lily started dating Mark, 27M, about a year ago, I tried to be welcoming and supportive, even though my gut immediately told me something was off. At first, I chalked it up to me being protective. Mark seemed polite enough when I met him a few times in casual settings, but there were subtle things that didn't sit right. He would make jokes that were just slightly off color, often about people's appearances or situations that weren't funny. He seemed controlling in ways I couldn't fully articulate, like subtly trying to dictate how Lily dressed or what she shared on social media. I mentioned this once to my mom, and she said I was being paranoid and needed to let her sister be happy. About 6 months ago, things started escalating. I started noticing that when I visited Lily at her apartment, she seemed off. She was quieter, tense, almost apologetic whenever Mark was around. During a family dinner, I accidentally overheard Mark mocking her choice of career in front of our parents. I felt my stomach drop. When I confronted Lily privately, she brushed it off, saying, "He's just teasing, don't make a big deal out of it. I know what he means, and it's fine." I left the conversation feeling uneasy, but I trusted her judgment. Fast forward to 3 months ago, Lily announced she and Mark were engaged. I forced myself to be happy for her and congratulated them. They asked me to be a bridesmaid, and I said yes, thinking maybe things had calmed down. But planning the wedding has been stressful. Mark has been excessively controlling about the guest list, insisting on unreasonably high expectations and making comments about my weight and appearance whenever we meet in person. It's small comments. "Are you sure that dress isn't too big for you?" Or, "I don't think your makeup really worked for this look," but they sting. The breaking point came last month. I was helping Lily with wedding decorations when Mark unexpectedly stormed into the room. He started criticizing everything I was doing, even things Lily had approved. When I tried to calmly explain that Lily had liked the ideas, he snapped at me, telling me I was overstepping and trying to make the wedding about myself. I was shocked. Lily said nothing at first, and when I asked her later why she didn't defend me, she said, "I just didn't want to start an argument. Can you just let it go?" I left feeling humiliated and frustrated. Since then, I've tried to minimize contact with Mark while still being there for Lily. But every time we talk about the wedding, Mark somehow inserts himself into the conversation, criticizing my ideas, my clothes, my opinions, or even the way I talk. Lily keeps saying she doesn't want to cause a scene and that I should just be patient. Yesterday, Mark asked me directly if I would wear a very specific and expensive dress he picked out. When I explained that I wasn't comfortable spending that much and prefer to pick something myself, he scoffed and said, "You're acting like a child." Can't you just do what's expected? That was the last straw. I told Lily I couldn't be in the wedding and that I couldn't be around Mark in that capacity. She called me immediately, crying, and accused me of being selfish and trying to ruin her special day. She said our whole family was disappointed in me, and that by refusing to attend, I was letting him win. I've been torn ever since. I don't want to hurt Lily, and I desperately want her to be happy. But I also feel like attending her wedding would mean tolerating behavior that's toxic and makes me feel unsafe and disrespected. My parents are upset, my friends are divided, and I feel like I'm in this impossible position. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding after he asked me to lie about why I couldn't go? So this is a long one, and I've been going back and forth in my head for weeks about whether I'm the asshole here. I, 28F, have a younger brother, Ryan, 25M. We've always had a complicated relationship, mostly because we grew up in a household where my parents played favorites and Ryan was the golden child. I try not to let it affect us too much as adults, but it definitely shaped some of our interactions. Our relationship is decent, but we're not super close, and we rarely spend more than a few hours together at family events. Ryan got engaged about 6 months ago to Sophie, 26F. Sophie is great, very kind and funny, but I could tell early on that Ryan was super focused on her, almost to a point where he neglected maintaining relationships with anyone else. I didn't think too much of it at first, but the wedding planning has been intense, and I've been left feeling like an outsider more than once. The issue started a month ago. Ryan called me and seemed hesitant, which is unusual for him. He asked me if I would be attending the wedding in 2 months. I said I was planning to, but I also told him I might have some work conflicts that week. That's when things got weird. Ryan suddenly started pressuring me about attending, saying that Sophie really wants the whole family there, and that it would ruin the day if I didn't come. I told him I understood, but I also couldn't promise anything yet. Then came the kicker. A few days later, he texted me saying, "Okay, if you're not coming, can you just tell Sophie you can't because of work? She's very sensitive, and I don't want her to feel like you don't care." I was stunned. At first, I thought he meant just telling the truth about a legitimate work conflict, but he quickly clarified that he wanted me to lie if I wasn't going. He admitted that if I said I just didn't feel like coming, Sophie would be hurt and annoyed, and Ryan couldn't deal with her being upset. He even said, "I don't care if you don't want to be there. I just need you to make her happy, okay?" I felt my stomach drop. I've never liked lying to people, and the idea that he was essentially asking me to pretend for someone else's emotional comfort felt manipulative. I explained to Ryan that I wasn't comfortable lying, and if I couldn't make it, I would have to be honest. He argued back that it wasn't a big deal and that I should just get over it because it would make Sophie happy. I told him I needed time to think about it. A few days later, I had a long conversation with my parents about it. My mom was weirdly supportive of Ryan, saying that Sophie was very emotional and that I should just lie to avoid drama. My dad didn't say much. I left that conversation feeling more conflicted. I started thinking about all the other times Ryan had pressured me for the sake of Sophie. He had once tried to get me to give up my weekend plans to help Sophie move into their apartment, even though it was my birthday, and when I refused, he sulked for weeks. That made me realize this wasn't a one-off. It was a pattern. So I made my decision. I told Ryan I wouldn't attend the wedding because I felt uncomfortable being manipulated into lying, and I couldn't justify it to myself. I was prepared for him to be upset, but what happened next blew me away. He got furious and called me selfish. He said I was destroying his wedding experience, and that if I didn't come, it would show everyone I don't care about him or Sophie. He insisted again that I just needed to say I was busy with work. I didn't back down. I reiterated that I couldn't lie and that attending under those circumstances felt wrong to me. Ryan hung up on me, and since then, he's barely spoken to me. He's been posting pictures from the wedding planning events on social media with captions like, "Family is everything," and "Wish everyone could be there," which feels passive-aggressive. My parents have been texting me, subtly guilting me and asking if I'll reconsider. Meanwhile, friends and cousins who know the family dynamic are divided. Some say I should just suck it up and lie, and others agree with me that it's wrong to be pressured into lying for someone else's happiness. I feel torn because on one hand, it's my brother's big day, and I do care about him. On the other hand, I feel like the expectation that I sacrifice my principles for Sophie's comfort is not reasonable, and attending under those conditions would make me resentful and unhappy. I've considered a compromise, like attending part of the wedding or being upfront but polite, but I feel like Ryan would interpret anything less than full attendance as betrayal. And honestly, after how he tried to manipulate me, I don't know if I even want to have a relationship with him for a while. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my brother's wedding because he asked me to lie about why I couldn't go. I can't shake the feeling that standing by my principles is more important than bending to someone else's emotional whims. But I also don't want to feel like I've burned bridges with my brother permanently. This story is about 6,650 characters and written in the Reddit ITA storytelling style, with the slow build-up, family tension, moral dilemma, and relatable emotional complexity that tends to make posts go viral. If you want, I can also draft a slightly more dramatic version with a bigger emotional climax that pushes it closer to 7,000 characters, adding more family conflict and internal monologue. Do you want me to do that? AITA for refusing to take my sister's kids trick-or-treating after she jokingly called me a creepy loser in front of everyone. So, for context, I, 28M, am the youngest of 3 siblings. My oldest sister, Lisa, 35F, is married with 2 kids, 8 and 6. My other sister, Megan, 32F, lives in another state, so Lisa and I are the only ones still in her hometown. Our parents live nearby, and we all usually spend holidays together. Lisa and I used to get along decently well, but over the last few years, she started making these passive-aggressive jokes about me being single, still renting, not having kids, or spending too much time alone. I work remotely as a software engineer, so yeah, I'm home a lot, and I don't go out much, but I'm happy with my life. I have hobbies, a few close friends, and I help my parents whenever they need me. Still, Lisa has this idea that I'm some kind of antisocial weirdo who needs to get out more. Anyway, Halloween is a big deal in our family. My parents love decorating their house, and the neighborhood goes all out. For the last 3 years, I've taken Lisa's kids trick-or-treating while she and her husband, Dan, stay home to hand out candy and drink with their friends. I don't mind. It's fun, and I like spending time with my niece and nephew. They love me, and we've got little traditions like trying to find the spookiest decorated house and rating each one. This year, Lisa asked me again if I'd take the kids out. I said sure. The plan was for me to come over around 5:30 p.m., have dinner, then go out with the kids at 6:30. Everything seemed normal until dinner. Lisa and Dan had invited some of their neighbors over, 3 couples I didn't really know. During dinner, one of the guys made a joke about how much effort I put into my costume. I was going as a vampire, pretty detailed outfit. He said something like, "Man, you must love Halloween. But you're the guy who keeps the candy for yourself." Lisa laughed and said, "Oh, you don't know him. He doesn't need kids for candy. He just loves lurking around at night anyway." Everyone laughed, but it felt weirdly directed at me. I tried to brush it off, but then she added, "Seriously, he's like a professional loner. We only let him take the kids because he's too awkward to talk to adults." The table laughed again, and I could feel my face get hot. Dan chuckled, but said nothing. I quietly said, "That's not really funny." And she said, "Oh, come on, lighten up. You know I'm joking." But it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like she was showing off in front of her friends at my expense. One of the other women awkwardly changed the subject, but the vibe was off for the rest of dinner. When it was time to get the kids ready, I told Lisa I wasn't feeling up for going anymore. She looked surprised and said, "What? You promised them." I said, "Yeah, but I'm not comfortable taking them out right now. You can take them or ask one of your friends." She said, "Don't be ridiculous. I was just kidding. You're really going to let a harmless joke ruin Halloween for the kids?" I told her I didn't appreciate being insulted in front of strangers and then expected to play babysitter immediately after. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're being dramatic. You know I don't mean it. God, you're proving my point." At that, I grabbed my jacket and told her to let me know when she can talk to me like an adult. I left before the kids even realized I wasn't taking them. That night, she texted me a long message about how disappointed she was, how the kids cried when they found out Uncle Ryan wasn't taking them, and how I ruined the night over my fragile ego. She said, "You embarrassed me in front of everyone by storming out like that." I didn't respond, but my parents got involved the next morning. My mom said Lisa shouldn't have said that stuff, but I also could have just taken the high road and gone with the kids since they had nothing to do with it. My dad said he understood both sides, but that I should probably apologize for how I handled it, so we can move on. It's been 3 days, and I haven't said anything to Lisa. Apparently, she's still mad and told my mom she doesn't want me around her friends anymore because I can't take a joke. Here's the thing, I'm not humorless. I could take a joke if it's not cruel. But being called a creepy loner in front of strangers, especially when I was literally doing her a favor, was humiliating. It's not the first time she's done something like this either. She's made comments before about how I probably live on Reddit or practice talking to people in the mirror. It's exhausting pretending it doesn't bother me. Now I'm wondering if I overreacted. Maybe I should have just taken the kids out, ignored her comments, and dealt with it later. But I also feel like she pushed me too far. A few of my friends said they would have walked out too. One even said it sounds like she resents me for not fitting her idea of normal. Another said I might have unintentionally confirmed her awkward narrative by leaving, but honestly, I don't think I owe someone grace right after they publicly humiliate me. Lisa texted again this morning. "The kids keep asking why you're mad at me. You should come talk to them and explain that you made a mistake." That one really set me off because she's now spinning it, so I'm the villain. I haven't replied. My parents want everyone to come over for Sunday dinner tomorrow, and I'm dreading it because Lisa will definitely bring it up. My mom told me, "Just say sorry and we can all move on." But I don't think I should apologize for not wanting to be disrespected. I don't even know if I can trust her anymore to not make me the butt of her jokes. I love my niece and nephew, but I don't want to keep stepping into situations where I'm a family punching bag just so everyone else can have a laugh. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to take my sister's kids trick-or-treating after she humiliated me in front of everyone? Or was I right to finally stand up for myself, even if it disappointed the kids? AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her dog to my wedding, even though she claims it's essential. So, my fiancé and I have been planning our wedding for over a year. We have a relatively small guest list, around 80 people, and we've been very meticulous about the venue, catering, and the overall vibe we want. We wanted something classy and intimate, nothing over the top, but still very personal. One of the things I was most excited about was that the venue we booked has a strict no pets policy. I knew that going in, so I assumed this wouldn't be a problem. Here's the catch. My sister, Jenna, has a dog named Baxter. He's a rescue she got a few years ago, and she's very attached to him. I mean, she treats him like her child. She's always been dramatic about his care, but I figure it was manageable because I didn't plan on including pets in the wedding at all. About 6 months ago, I sent out save the dates, and Jenna immediately texted me asking if she could bring Baxter. She said that he has separation anxiety and that leaving him alone would be traumatic for him. I tried to gently explain that the venue doesn't allow pets, and it wouldn't be possible, but she immediately went into guilt mode. She said things like, I can't just leave him, and I'm sure the venue could make an exception. I explained again that it's a legal restriction and that the venue is very strict about this. Over the next few months, this became a recurring argument. Every time I brought up wedding planning, she would ask about Baxter and imply that my wedding was somehow cruel if I didn't allow him. She even suggested that I hire a pet sitter or let someone else watch him, but she dismissed every option, claiming none of them would be good enough. She's always been a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to her dog, so I figure I had to stand my ground. About 2 weeks ago, I sent out our final invitations with all the details, and I included a note reiterating that pets would not be allowed. I tried to frame it politely, explaining that the venue is strictly no pets and that we wouldn't be able to make exceptions. I didn't expect her to blow up, but she immediately called me crying and yelling. She accused me of being heartless and unreasonable and said she might not attend if Baxter can't come. She even went as far as saying she would tell all the family that I'm being unfair and selfish. My fiancé and I discussed it and decided that we would not bend on this issue. We really don't want to risk upsetting the venue or making other guests uncomfortable. Plus, it's our wedding, and I feel like it's a boundary that should be respected. I even offered to help her find a trusted pet sitter or arrange a hotel that allows pets nearby, but she refused to listen. The situation escalated last weekend. Jenna showed up at my parents' house, where we were having a small pre-wedding family gathering, and brought Baxter anyway. She claimed she couldn't leave him alone, and that it was just for a little while. She didn't ask anyone, just showed up. As soon as she walked in with him, my mom and I told her firmly that he couldn't stay and that she needed to take him home. Jenna started yelling and crying, saying that no one understands her and that I'm ruining the family dynamic. Eventually, she left, but the scene left everyone really tense. Now, Jenna has been texting me nonstop, sending messages like, "I hope you enjoy your perfect wedding without me and Baxter," and "You're going to regret not having me there." She's also reached out to a few family members individually, trying to get them to convince me to change my mind. Some of them are on my side, saying I'm allowed to have rules for my own wedding, while others are giving me grief, saying I should just let her bring the dog to avoid drama. I feel really torn. On one hand, it's my wedding and I have the right to set boundaries. On the other hand, I love my sister and I don't want her to feel excluded or hurt. I've tried everything: polite explanations, offering alternatives, even compromises, but she's refused all of them. I also feel guilty because she's genuinely very attached to Baxter, and I know leaving him alone can stress her out. But the wedding is supposed to be a joyful occasion for everyone, not a battlefield over a dog. My fiancé thinks I'm right to stand my ground, and some family members agree, saying it's my day and my rules. But now I'm worried about the fallout. Jenna hasn't said she won't come, but her messages are increasingly hostile, and I don't want a confrontation on the wedding day. I also feel like my family might be divided over this, and it could create more tension. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her dog to my wedding even though she says he's essential to her well-being. I feel like I'm being reasonable, but everyone around me is making me second-guess myself. The wedding is in 6 weeks, and I'm trying to figure out how to handle this without it turning into a full-blown family feud. I just want my day to be about celebrating with the people who can respect the rules, not about arguing over a dog. Has anyone else dealt with this kind of boundary issue with family? I'm open to advice, but please be honest. Am I really the asshole here? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.